Hey folks, I've been posting way too much screamy high note content, so I'm gonna apologize for that. And today, I have something different for you. Yes, it's a trumpet. No, it's not a commercial trumpet, it's not a screamer trumpet. This is a jazz paintbrush. A jazz player's dream horn. Any trumpet aficionados who are watching this? Do you know what this is? Can you tell me what this horn, what the make and model is? Check out those hoop braces. Pretty weird, huh? If you think it's a blessing, you're partially right, but it's not a blessing. If these spit keys remind you of a French maker, you're on the money, but not quite. This is an H.A. Selmer Bundy. And no, it's not the shitty 1968 to now Bundy. This is an early Bundy. This is probably early 1960s, so maybe 1961, 1962. This is an H.A. Selmer Bundy. See if you can look at that engraving there. H.A. Selmer. Ha! Selmer. H.A. Selmer. So it's an American brand. It's mostly a blessing, but there are several design characteristics that differentiate it from the blessing. First of all, the blessings in the early 60s had special receivers that only took blessing mouthpieces that were a little bit narrower in shank diameter. This is a normal type of receiver. It'll take any standard taper mouthpiece that's not the smaller blessing shank. We got short stroke valves, very short stroke. Look at this nice finger ring. Very, very attractive, almost like kind of snake-like finger ring. We got these nickel silver hoop braces, 1, 2. They're kind of narrow hoop braces. The wrap is relatively narrow wrap, and it's pretty short or pretty narrow side to side, pretty tight wrap trumpet. Definitely like a 1940s inspired, 1950s inspired trumpet. They were kind of pushing it into the modern era. Beautiful engraving, original lacquer. I'd say the lacquer is 99%, maybe 99.5%, honestly. It's almost completely original finish. Slow taper bell. Look at how slow this bell tapers. And then it finally chunks out at the very end. So it's a vintage bell taper, vintage style of bell taper, very slow taper. This is a 468 bore, but it does not feel like one. It does not feel like one. It feels like a kind of stuffy medium large, honestly. Like it's a 468, it doesn't feel like any 468 I've ever played. It's kind of tight and compact, and it's very dark, as you'll soon hear. And I'm pairing it with this very special James Arnew trumpet mouthpiece. So first of all, this is a Colicchio blank, almost like an improvement on the old Vincent Bach design. He made it a little chunkier here, a little bit less mass at the rim, but a little bit more mass at this point, and less mass here. You can see it's a very elegant 1950s style Colicchio blank. This is an S6M. So the S is the rim style. This is a symphonic rim style. Not really my favorite type of rim, honestly. It has a nice rounded outer edge, but the inner edge, it's a little sharp. It's about as sharp as I can handle. So the 6 is the diameter, so it's a 660. So it's like slightly big 3C or a slightly small 1.5C. It's kind of in between the 1.5 and the 3C. The M stands for medium cup. And really, this is like a large C cup. So this is, if I had to give this like a Bach designation, it's like a 2B kind of. Not quite a C cup, not quite a B cup, somewhere in between, like maybe a CB cup in some people's nomenclature. But it's got a 26 throat. You'll see that's what's written on the shank. That says 26. And then on the bottom, 7. So it's got a 26 throat. That's a big throat. Bigger than standard. And I don't even use standard throat. So this, for me, 26 throat, that's huge. I'm swimming in this. And the back bore is relatively tight, but very dark. The Bach 7 back bore, this has a custom Bach 7 back bore on it. It's tight and dark. I don't know how Bach figured that out. Usually the tighter back bores are brighter. This one is tight and dark. So it's a relatively deep cup, a medium wide diameter, kind of a sharp rim, 26 throat, tight but dark back bore. And it fits this horn really well. I'll tell you one thing it's really not good for is playing above high C at all. For me, this mouthpiece hardly works above high C. And for me, this horn doesn't really want to play above high C much either. In fact, I was experimenting with it with my lead mouthpiece, and I would get up to a high F, and the high F was huge, big high F. I went to F sharp, almost nothing. Like the response just went, it completely dies above high F. So even when I'm in top shape, which I'm not right now, I've already been playing for about 5 hours today. I'm really tired. I was warming up, I was playing E flat sirens for over an hour today, up to high, from middle E flat up to high E flat, over and over and over and over and over, because I'm trying to drill this place in my lip. Like my middle high range is getting kind of shaky lately, and I want to facilitate some strength up there. So I was basically playing way too much range. So I opened this video saying I'm not going to do a lot of screaming. This is going to be the smokiest you've ever heard me sound, definitely. So super deep, smoky, open mouthpiece. Super smoky Chet Baker, Chet Bakery, flurpy, thuddy-duddy, chewy, smoky trumpet. Let's have some fun. so smoky. So smoky and dark. Very different from anything that I regularly use or play on. I hardly ever get the chance to really like relax my face and play on something really smoky and dark like this. This is a treat. Yeah, for me it just doesn't work above high C really. This thing is just so much fun to just paint with. It's just so much fun just noodling on this thing. The response is actually relatively slow. So the horn doesn't really respond super fast, and the mouthpiece for me is very tanky. But even though this is not a setup that I'll use very often, I may only use it for 1 or 2 gigs here or there, every trumpet player needs a really smoky horn and a really smoky mouthpiece, just so they can have that certain flavor.
Everything happens to me